Hey, everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. It's Thursday. We're calling this episode Shades of Bravo, but I'm trying to rebrand it. I'm thinking about Pop of Bravo. I'm thinking about Bravo Pop. I'm thinking about
I like Papa Bravo.
Shady Pop. Papa Bravo is good because I talk about Bravo, but I also want to talk about pop culture, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
how about
I'm workshopping it.
Pop and Bravo?
All right, I think Kate Casey just nailed it. That's why she's Kate Casey, everybody. My friend here is my guest. My friend and my guest, Kate Casey, my longtime confidant and keeper of secrets, Kate
Yeah,
Casey.
word to your mother. Ain't that the truth, sister? Ain't that the truth?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a little bit of Bravo chat, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've been traveling so much and been sick and working on getting all my recaps ready for Love is Blind when that comes out next week that I am not as caught up on Bravo as I should be.
You have
And
really gone down the Love is Blind
yeah,
tunnel. I think I'm up to
yeah.
episode 5, 4 or 5, the new one. So I know we
On
can't talk about
on
it
this
yet, but
on this new
I
season. Yeah. Yeah.
but my question for you is how psyched are you that it was in DC?
I'm really psyched, and because Kate, you guys, she also used to live in DC, so she knows, but it's really nice to see these people. You guys will see it. It's coming out next week. These people, they all have actual jobs with real titles.
Right.
And I know what most of the titles mean. And so I've already sent my husband like LinkedIn profiles for several of these people. Like, do you know this person? Do you know this person? Because they
Yeah.
work in his industry, you know?
The one in particular, definitely.
I was like, "Do you know this person?" He's like, "No, should I? What's happening? Why are you
Yeah.
asking me?" I go, "No, no reason."
Mm.
So yeah, but and it's right at first, my initial was all of the guys are trolls and all the women are fabulous and gorgeous. But as I'm watching it a little more, I'm like, all right, I was quick to judge on the troll. Some of them are cute and have redeeming qualities,
Yeah.
but slim pickings for the DC dating pool. I gotta tell you that much.
Uh,
But
I don't know. I
we'll be
feel
able to
like
talk. We'll talk about it more when it comes out.
yeah, I feel like dating's hard in every city, you know? It takes a
True.
while to
True.
find somebody. I met my husband on Match.com before people, like, admitted to that. Like, it took
Right.
me, like, a long time, and I lied about it for a while. I said we met through friends. And by friends, I mean the computer. But I will say that I really have enjoyed writing dating profiles for people in the past, and I have to say they've had some luck. So if you're listening to this and you're like, "I'm out back out in the dating game, what do I write?" Reach out to
Mhm.
me, I'll help you.
Oh, you guys, Kate Casey, she's your
Yeah.
girl. Well, Keisha and I have really been talking about how we would do in the pods, and we both think we would kill it in the pods because we have great personalities. And then when the guys see us, maybe they wouldn't be like disappointed because we're like average cute. Neither one of us are, Kenya Moore levels. We keep just saying Kenya Moore level, gorgeous, but we're average cute, average body size, everything. So we think we would kill it because we would win them over with our personality, but also,
This sounds
maybe
crazy.
but maybe they're not as cute. Well, I mean, we've both been married like over 20 years. So it's really a stupid conversation. But we're like, should we make a Love is Blind for people that are already married just to make us feel good that we could still kill it in the pods?
You know what? It is a good question though, because if you think about it, like for I'm not very tall. I'm like just under 5'6". I'm like
Okay,
not
well,
that
you're
tall.
taller than I am.
But like my son goes, "But mom, you give tall energy." So
Mm,
if you think about it yourself in the pods, like what kind of energy do you give? Do you think you give a certain energy in terms of like the way you looked? So would they see
mm.
you as tall or short, having certain kind of hair or style? That's the other
Yeah.
thing is like somebody a lot of like I think attraction too when they see each other is like, do they like the person's style? Like Stacy, who I just interviewed, who was on
Yeah.
2 seasons ago or something.
With
Like,
Izzy.
she's got
Yeah.
great style.
Yeah.
If she sees the guy and he's got, like, a bad clothes,
Yeah.
that's another element to, like, the deal breaking.
I thought that they looked very perfectly matched, those two.
Yeah,
When they came out, you're like, okay, these people in the real world, like Clay and AD
yeah.
last season, I was like, in the real
Oh,
world,
in the
these
real world, they
people
would
would be attracted to each other. I do believe. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. So what do you think you would give out? Do you think people would know that you would have that hairstyle, that style?
Mm. I think people are always surprised to find out about me that like I have a couple of tattoos and I love the Grateful Dead and because I think I
Yeah, I
give
could see
off
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I give off real like
Southern.
southern girl energy because I do have a lot of
Yeah.
pearl clutching. Like I don't like a lot of this like sex talk and stuff. Like I get very nervous. So I
Yeah.
think that I would give off that kind of like, I don't want to talk about that. That's TMI.
Right.
I do give off that. And that is true. That's who I am. But also I'm a little bit of a maybe not so conventional that you would think of like a conventional Southern girl.
You do love a leather pant.
I do enjoy a leather pancake,
Yeah,
Casey. That is true.
you
I
do.
do. I do. I just ordered some new leather pants that were like a cropped jean pant,
There
and
you
it
go.
didn't work out for me. It wasn't so cute on this old
Oh.
lady body. Didn't hit like I thought it would.
You know what we talked about is that we both don't enjoy the wide leg pant look. Not on ever I was just saying like on our own specific bodies. Like I've tried so many times to find one of those wide leg like patch pocket jeans and it's not working for me.
I don't mind a wide leg jean now because I have a couple. I like that Liverpool, and I like cut from the
You
cloth.
did like the Liverpool.
I
Yeah.
like yeah, but that patch pocket in the front, which is now a thing, Kate.
I don't like
mm,
it.
it is. I think that you have to have a 0% body fat to pull that off. You gotta have nothing happening between the hip bones. It's gotta be just a flat concave situation, and
So
then
it's like
that
that Jane Birkin long lean look. Yeah.
it's straight across the front.
Yeah.
You can't have anything happening, below the belly button. It's gotta be flat as a board.
Flat
Now,
as a board.
you've had 5 kids, I've had 2. It's not happening for me. Not happening
Do
for
you
me.
think that if we were matched in the pods and the curtain was revealed, would you have expected me to dress as preppy as I do?
Let me think about that. No. I think you are you give off a very, like, country club chic vibe.
Oh, I do. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's what you
interesting.
give off to me. You're very, sort of, monochrome and
Always,
seem to be very well curated. Seems like
I
maybe
like
you
a
got
monochromatic look.
yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you give off a very preppy vibe. Like, it
Okay.
was funny when I had to do that, you guys, when I went on that boat thing for TLC,
Oh yeah.
I wrote to Kate and Heather McDonald and Brandy and Julie and said, "Okay, I've gotta go on this boat thing and what should I wear?" And I said to Matt Maher, I go, "What do you think Kate's gonna say?" He goes, "Okay, let's
Oh, that's
predict what
so
Kate's gonna
funny.
say." So Matt said, "I think Kate is gonna say you should wear a white wide-legged pant and a navy nautical sweater and something else." And I said, "Here's what she wrote back." She wrote back, um, a black wide-legged pant
Yes, I
with a
did.
tight white sweater.
I did say that.
And I said, "In what world is this gal putting on a tight white sweater?"
I feel
Oh
like
my
I've
gosh.
seen you in a tight sweater though.
I mean, maybe a fitted sweater, but
Yeah,
you
fitted. Yeah.
know, I don't know if it's so good on this old body. I'm working on my self-esteem, Kate. That's what I'm working
Well, I
on.
gotta say, I feel like you are very much killing the game. So I don't know what world you're living in, but I'm gonna talk to Emily Simpson next week
Yeah.
from Real
Yeah.
Houses of Orange County because I feel like she's kind of cracked this great conversation open about body dysmorphia and
Yes.
image, and
Yes.
I want to talk to her a lot about the
Yeah.
conversation she's getting, like what the DM she's getting since she's kind of been more open about it. I bet because I found like Bronwyn would tell me this too that she found that as a housewife, people really unload in their DMs to you.
Positive and negative, I bet.
Both. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I bet Emily's getting a lot of positivity of like, "Thank you for saying this,"
Yeah.
because you can look at Emily Simpson and be like, clearly she's one of the most gorgeous women we've ever had on our television, just
Mhm.
naturally
Agree.
gorgeous. But because she's not a size 0 and where you guys live in OC, she
That's
probably
exactly right.
feels very pressured. And also
Mhm.
she has a husband who's a tiny little fella. And so she probably feel
That's true.
that
Yeah.
probably makes her feel uncomfortable too. I mean, he can't help his size, just like she can't help her size. But my God, that workout routine, I could never. I could never. I
Well,
don't have it in me.
it also just made me think about even outside of weight, Lord knows we all can understand the weight element, but like when you're really feeling good about yourself and then something big or small can just set you back mentally. Like she
Mhm.
was feeling so confident about how the way she looked, and then having someone just give a dress that was a larger size than she typically wears in her
Mhm.
new body
Mhm.
made her like kind of unravel. And I'm like, I just thought, watch that, and I go, man, who doesn't understand how that feels?
I have
Even
a
like
friend.
in your work, like how many times, how many conversations have we had where we're like feeling really good about work, and then something happens, and then you're like, I feel like I'm back at square one.
Like, I've worked so hard to get this far, and now this happened.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
it totally happens all the time. And what's interesting, you're saying this about the Emily thing, of which I have not watched the episode, but I feel like I have because I've listened to so many recaps. I
yeah.
was listening to Danny's recap earlier in the car, and I was reminded of this story. I have a very good friend who was a coworker of mine, but a very good friend who did not come to my wedding, who literally like helped me plan so many parts of it. She did not come to my wedding because that day her sister had mailed her some of her old clothes that were like
Oh, I yes,
her sister had
right.
lost a bunch of weight. It was like, let me send you my fat clothes because you could wear them.
Wow,
And my
wow,
friend
yep,
received that in the mail and was like, so my
and she
sister
came
thinks
undone.
I want her old fat clothes. And so she was so upset about it and so
Mhm.
mad. My wedding was that night and she did not come. I
Yeah,
think about
I
that all the
listen,
time,
I'm
like she
just,
didn't even
like,
go to my
glad
wedding because she was so upset. Yeah.
I'm really glad that people can talk about that. I feel like everybody has those moments, but they feel, like, shameful about it. The more we all talk about it, the more we realize how insane it is, but when
Yeah.
you're living in and you don't talk about it, you feel like you live on an island. You're like, "I'm so embarrassed that I would tell anybody." Like, in high school, I went to that boarding school, and my, friend said, "Remember how many times we would hear other girls in the hall because it was, like, high school girls, so, like, 9th through
Yeah.
12th. He'd be like, "I'm so fat!"
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and now you look back and you're like, "God, we were so silly." I think that like, if we were to all be a little bit more honest, like, the amount of time most of us spend in our life thinking about rent-free thoughts about something as silly as, like, our weight. Like, we
Mhm.
think about it way too much.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Because like,
Yes. Yes.
80-year-olds who are really ill, they'll tell you, like, "I wasted so much time not enjoying the body I had."
Oh my gosh. Well, you look back at your 18,
Mm,
your 20,
totally,
your 30,
yes.
35-year-old body and like what I would kill But I
Yeah,
would kill to have it, and then I'm
yeah.
sure that when I'm, 65 instead of 55, I'll be like, "Oh my god, what was I complaining about? Look how great I
Mhm.
looked," you know? So, yeah, it's just your mindset, and I think for people that can really, really appreciate where they are in that moment, and this is the body I have, and it's strong, and I did have,
Yeah.
2 kids, and I remember one time, and this, kinda sounded like bullshit, but I think it's true. Sarah Jessica Parker was on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy asked her something like, "People always comment on your hands." I guess she has like veiny hands. She's a very, very thin person, always has been. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
said, "People are always talking about your hands." I guess her hands are super veiny. And she said, I've heard that a lot. I don't care. These hands carried my children. These hands, held the hand of a dying parent. These hands have,
That's well
been,
put,
been
yeah.
on Broadway. She's like, what do I care if you don't like my hands? And I was like, okay, that's such a great way to look at it. Like, okay, this body may not be perfect, but it could
Well,
do
but
this, that,
I
and
was
the other.
kinda mad at Andy for asking it that way.
You remember that, don't you?
Well, like, isn't that a weird way to ask it? Like, I
I
don't
don't
know.
I
A lot
don't know
of
how
people talk about how bad your hair like, how your hair looks greasy every morning. Like, I don't do people want to hear what other people say badly about them?
maybe she said beforehand, "Why don't you ask me about that? Because I have a
Maybe.
good
That's
answer,"
totally
you know?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
totally possible. Wow.
Hey guys, have you been plagued this summer by underboob sweat? Yeah, I have. You need to listen up because I am about to turn you on to one of my absolute favorite products. It's Lumi's Whole Body Deodorant Stick. It's a whole body deodorant stick. Lumi is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. Okay, you can use it in your armpits, you can use it between your thighs, you can use it on your belly button, you can use it in your butt crack, and you can use it under your boobs. And even on your feet. Oh my gosh. This was created by an OBGYN who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. I can't recommend it enough. Now, are you ready to make the upgrade to Lumi? This is a special offer, okay? New customers will get 15% off of all Lumi products with our exclusive code and link. Use code PINKSHADE at LumiDeodorant.com, okay? LumiDeodorant.com, and the code is PINKSHADE. Lumi Starter Pack is a perfect thing to get for new customers because it comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or the deodorant wipes. The deodorant wipes are also amazing, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code PINKSHADE. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. What are you waiting for? This is like a no-brainer. Use code PINKSHADE for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code PINKSHADE at LumiDeodorant.com. And thank me later. Well, speaking of OC, like I said, I haven't caught up, but I have seen the zillions of clips of Heather
Yeah.
Dubrow saying, to be honest, her dress was too tight. I want to say, fuck off, Heather Dubrow. Don't say that about another woman that is your friend. Shut up.
I know, but she probably watched that playback and probably felt terrible.
Feels hard. And they're going to address
Yeah.
that at the reunion. And are we done, or we have one more episode of OC and then we've got reunion?
I don't even know.
I feel it's pretty
Maybe.
close. I feel it's pretty close. I watched the first episode of Salt Lake City. Didn't study it too much. And now I'm sorry, but I did get the Bronwyn with the heart, and then Amy Phillips did the most hilarious thing. Did you see her thing where she
Yeah.
Everybody go follow Amy Phillips on Instagram. Funny. Saw that. And then I did like how Bronwyn and Mary were like, it's fashion, it's fashion, it's couture, it's fashion. I was like, okay. I like that Mary has given us a little personality. I like
I
it.
still have to be honest. I can't figure out whether or not I really do have to know at some point whether or not she's operating a cult. I have to know that. And the fact that we don't know have an answer to that, it was like it was sort of discussed and then dropped.
I mean, she definitely was. But maybe now that she and her husband have been like, we're just better living on opposite coast. Maybe
she needs to address that.
She doesn't have the smarts to address that, I don't think.
I think it's very weird. Like that's something I need to get to the bottom of. I asked that new housewife Bronwyn to be a guest on my show and she declined.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Well,
some other people have declined to be on your show. And
I
I
know.
think, in the words of Pretty Woman, mistake. Big mistake.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. Huge.
You know what I do have tomorrow though is Angie Harrington's on. Angie was on the show before.
I'm so excited about that.
Her ex-husband's wife is on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yes.
And I was talking to her about why Salt Lake is such an interesting place.
Yeah.
And she like kind of gave me some more insight on the Mormon culture and how it's like this perfectionist culture that like because I was talking to her about how so many of these dancing with the stars ballroom dancers are also from Salt Lake City. And she said, everything that anybody does there, it has to be the best. So you have to be the most spiritual, the best mother, the best baseball player.
In the Book of Mormon, you're told to be perfect. You're taught to be perfect. That's why they're okay with plastic surgery.
Yeah.
They're told to be perfect. And I can't remember, it was either on Salt Lake City. It wasn't on Secret Live of Mormon. It was on Salt Lake City. They say in the Book of Mormon, you are taught to be perfect. And that is why everybody is just completely fine. You can't have coffee, but it's fine to have soda, which, by the way, coffee is way better for you than soda. At least coffee is a naturally occurring thing and soda is chemical. So it's very, very interesting. And I'm so glad that you're talking to her because I did hear, and I don't know if it was on your show or Heather's show, because you both did the Mormon Girl interviews.
Oh, yeah. But she had two different. Yeah. So it was kind of great. So if you could
who did you have and who did Heather have?
I had Whitney and Macy, and she had Demi, whose husband was married to Angie, and the one who looks exactly like her, Jessie. Maybe? No.
Somebody had Jen Affleck.
She had Jen Affleck. Sorry.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah. Okay. So Demi was the one who said she had a child very early, and had to get married and then got divorced and then later married the older guy, which we now know is Angie Harrington's ex-husband.
Yeah.
Who to me, he seems like a total delight on the
Well, so
show.
what she said, and Angie said it, he was like the BYU quarterback. He was recruited by
Yes.
all of these colleges, but she said, BYU
And
is really like the church's college. So
yeah.
they were she's almost like I was living a reality show before that because you get so much attention when you're the BYU quarterback, and she dated him in college, and then they got married and they had 2 kids right away. Right
Mhm.
away.
Mhm.
She said that this is the thing that I thought was the most interesting. She says it's kind of like a perfect place for a reality show too, because um, for specifically like Real Housewives ages. And she said
Yeah.
all of the women in this competitive kind of space, like you have to be the best mother that also a lot of them put aside any sort of career stuff because they got married young.
Mhm.
So
Right, right.
now this is like they wanna be the best at their career, and their new career is like as a housewife, and they're like, "How am I gonna be the best at it?" So she gives Whitney as an example and said, like, Whitney, you know, her kind of like modus operandi is like, "I have to be the best housewife, so I'm gonna go balls out in a scene." I don't know, it's just some little nuances I thought were kind of interesting.
I think it's very interesting, and I think you said a long time ago when Salt Lake City first came out, you're like, "They're really missing the boat by not
Some of the influencers.
having some of these mom talk influencers," and then, of course, they created a whole show around it. Um
Oh, I know what else she said. The difference between Real Housewives and the, Mormon Housewives, she said she thinks it's so much of is the generational difference is that
mm,
they're so, they're just newly married and they're young
yeah,
and living in a social media age where you're, like,
mm,
rewarded for being so open, where the housewives look at them like, "Aren't you gonna regret that you just said, like, your husband watches porn? Like, is it gonna be hard for him to get a job?" And I said,
right,
"Yeah, but they also put so much content out. They think they don't even remember what they put out like 2
right,
months ago. They're like, 'Oh,
right.
that's old.' No, everybody forgets that." Like,
No.
pummel people with content and they'll forget about that stuff.
It's like I said to my son, the internet is forever. Just very, very recently, he was talking about
But
something at his college,
they don't feel
a
like that.
and he said that, somebody he knew, something came out that this kid did, like, in ninth or 10th grade that was bullying or something. Now they're college age, and he's telling about this. He goes, "This stuff came out," and I said, "What have I been telling you since you had it? It's forever. It is forever. So
Yeah.
if you do that, it will come back to haunt you. If you did something in ninth grade that was completely ridiculous, it'll come back to haunt you. And now it
Mhm.
is kind of coming back to haunt this kid. And
Yeah.
what I want to tell you this before I forget about Salt Lake City and also Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So on Salt Lake City, the new girl Brittany, I don't even know how you spell that. Brttinye. It was a lot of wrong spelling going on. Um, the new girl who we only got briefly, but she dates an Osmond nephew. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the Osmond brothers' kids,
Mhm.
but all the Os have like 8 kids. So there's not any way to keep track of anybody unless you're
Yeah.
Donnie Jr. or Marie Jr. We don't know you.
Mhm.
But where my husband and you and I have talked about this extensively, I did a great Saturday series with Kate. My husband was in rehab. He was in rehab in Utah.
In Utah. Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, believe me, I was just driving past that BYU every day and the girls in their Bermuda shorts, and way different at Ole Miss, where everybody's just got their ass cheeks out. But that where Cirque Lodge, the name of the rehab.
Oh, that's a really nice one, right?
Yeah, it's nice, but there's two parts
Yeah.
of it. There's the Cirque Lodge, which is the lodge, which is up. And then
Mhm.
there's the studios, which is where my husband, which is still incredible. But like the people in the lodge are like the Lindsay Lohans. And there was a guy that was the Twilight movie was there when my husband was there. And they stay up at the lodge and like they're allowed to have their phones at night and stuff. But to eat and do all the meetings and every single thing else, they have to come down. Everything happens at the studios. They have the world's largest indoor rock climbing facility. And that's where they do all their experiential treatments and all that.
Interesting. Mhm.
So, but the studios, it's called Circle Lodge Studios because it's Donnie and Marie's studio where they filmed that show.
Oh, wow.
So when you go into the gate of Cirque Lodge, the gates, D and M on the gates.
Wow.
And then you go in, and then there's parking lots on both sides, and you walk in and you can see, okay, this is where you checked in and where they have this world's largest, and it could be changed now. It's been 10 years, but it was this world's largest indoor rock climbing and experiential and ropes. It's a ropes course and all this stuff was the, at the time, the biggest one in the United States. That was the soundstage. And so
Wow.
when you're in there and you're like, whoa, I can see how, because it's so tall and so big. And yeah, it's a soundstage for the Donnie and Marie show. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's cool.
And every time I see any of the Salt Lake stuff, because I went to Salt Lake and went to where was in Orem, Orem, Utah is where it was.
Mhm.
And that's just right outside. And all the soda things and all that. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. And I would go to dinner by myself and be like, does this California Pizza Kitchen serve wine? Because mommy needs a glass of wine after being there all day,
Yeah.
I'm sure people were really judging me, but my husband's about to go back to Utah for a work trip near there. And I was like, I hope you're going to swing by and see those people that saved your life. He
No
said he might.
kidding.
He said he might. He
That's
might
kinda
do it.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So, Salt Lake City, OC, I've got to catch up. I've got to catch up with the next day or two. Below Deck Med, I know you don't watch it, but we've
Yeah.
had the season finale of that, and that I'm caught up on. And I know you don't watch it, but you do know who Aisha is, right?
Of course I do. Yeah,
Aisha.
yeah.
Captain Sandy gets married on the last episode.
Oh, that's sweet.
I saw Darren Carp in the audience. I was eyeballing that.
Well, you know why?
And
Because her girlfriend is Nadine, who produces it.
oh, okay. Well, I just figured
Yeah.
Darren knew them. I mean, for being in the Bravo world, but Kate Chastain was there and all that. But what was so interesting, there was this, and people that are watching it will know, there's this one stew on there, Ellie, who was so awful all season. And finally, literally on the last charter, Aisha was like, I've got to tell you, you're really overstepping your bounds. You're really being too bossy. You are the second stew. You don't get to tell everybody else what to do. The only time you get to tell everybody else what to do is if I'm on break or off this boat. And she really got to tell her. And I'm really wondering what Ellie's future is on this show, because I think she was on, I think she's, it's her second season to be on different boats. And I'm like, probably they'll have her back on because she's good drama. Like
Mhm.
Aisha is so weird. That's why she keeps getting on, because she's such a character.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, that Ellie, I'm so glad she finally got her comeuppance. I was like, in my bed last night, I couldn't sleep because I'm on this steroid for this illness. So I couldn't sleep all night. So I'm just catching up on Below Deck. I should have been catching up on OC in Salt Lake City, since that's what I was supposed to talk about today. But dying to know if Ellie got her comeuppance, and she did. Yeah.
Well, there's a new show that's gonna come out this fall, later in the year on Bravo called Sold in SLC, something like that. So it's a real estate show in Salt Lake. And so it's about this woman
Wow.
named Jen who
Uh-huh.
has a real estate company in Salt Lake, and the 5 people that are like some of the agents. And they
Wow.
found her because she was like she had gone on one of the charters for Below Deck. And they wanted her
Really?
to try out for Real Housewives, and she was like, "It's not really my style." So they built this show around her, which is kind of great because I think I'm kind of interested in Salt Lake City real estate.
I'm
I'm
interested
not
in the
gonna
whole
move.
thing.
I'm not gonna move there. I follow this one account called Alpine Manor. It's the most beautiful houses. I'm never gonna move there, but I like to look at it.
Are you a skier?
No,
Me either.
I hate
Me
the
either.
cold. I
I
have
hate
no
the cold
interest.
too. I do too. One day when I get my beach house, I say it at least once an episode because I'm manifesting it. You will come to my beach house, and
Yeah.
we have said that you are on our very short list of one of people that we will invite on our Nantucket trip. So far, the only person that's qualified is Kate Casey.
Did you watch The Perfect Couple?
No, but I read that book, and I've heard The Perfect Couple was so cheesy it's not to even do
It
it.
was super campy, but the house that they used for that movie or series, I looked it up, and it's actually in a town called Chatham on Cape Cod, which is where I used to stay when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It makes you want to go there. It really does
Oh,
look beautiful.
I'm just read all the Ellen Hildebrand books, and I'm like, I know everything about Nantucket. And then when I talked to Gibson Johns, per your recommendation, thank you very much. Now, of course, he's from DC, and now we figured out we have 25 people in common. Of
Oh,
course.
that's so funny.
Um,
Isn't he great?
well, his whole family is big in the lacrosse world, and then a
Yes.
lot of my friends, have kids that are playing D1 lacrosse and stuff. So
Yeah.
we knew all these. Like his sister has coached my best friend Mary's kid for
His
years,
sister's
and
so cool. Like,
yeah.
what a cool. Yeah, I love Gibson.
Yeah, cool family. But for that, he was like, no, I've been going to Nantucket my whole life. He's like, so when you go, you let me know. And he's going to hook us up with everything.
Oh, get out.
I'm so excited.
I kind of want to hang out with his parents. They seem like cool people too.
I know.
You
My
know,
sister's
he
dog is
actually,
whining.
Margaret
Sorry.
Josephs is old friends with his parents, I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's interesting. Piper, you want to go outside? I can't help you. I'm recording a podcast right now, but I'll text my sister. Hold on. I'm going to mute this and yell for my sister. You guys, it's working from home. This is what we do. All right.
I think my
So
sister likes her dogs more than her kids.
sometimes I
She's
think
like
I like my dogs.
so crazy about her dogs. It's kind of hysterical.
Kate, I'm that way.
Yeah.
I'm that way. But my kid, I'm semi-empty nest, so that's why. Y'all, I don't know how it is at your house, but at my house, every week there's a never ending list of projects to get done. And we're always like, yep, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. Oh my gosh, next week we're going to get that screen fixed on Anna's window. But we never get around to it. We are too busy. So, we're coming up on the weekend and I'm like, hey, I got to fix this screen. Oh my gosh, somebody need to pressure wash the house. I got to build this dresser. I got to clean out the garage. And none of that sounds great on the weekends, especially when I've got so much trash TV I need to be watching. So for all the tasks you need to do but don't want to do, there's TaskRabbit. TaskRabbit connects you with skilled taskers to help with cleaning, moving, furniture assembly, home repairs, and more. And many taskers are available to help the same day. Okay, I went on taskrabbit.com and I booked a tasker to come to my house and clean my gutters. And guess what? While he was here, I was like, you know what? Can you fix Anna's screen that is hanging off the front of the house? And he did. It was so easy, guys. I'm not kidding. You just go, you click the thing, you type in your zip code, you type in what you're looking for, and boom, a bunch of people pop up. And yes, some of them were available either that afternoon or the next day. I booked somebody with 2 days notice and the guy was here. It was so easy. And guess what? My husband didn't have to clean the gutters because we're not the handiest people in this house. So to get started, you can go to taskrabbit.com or just get the app. The app is really great too. Search the best tasker for your job based on cost, skill set, availability, and past client reviews. I looked at those past client reviews and I was like, I'm not going to take anybody under a 4.5, but there was hardly anybody on there that was that low. So it actually was kind of hard because everybody looked great. Now you're going to schedule your tasker early as the same day sometimes. And once the tasker has completed the job, simply pay, tip, and review. I did that all. It was all on the app. Taskers have assembled over 3.4 million pieces of furniture. Oh my gosh, I could have used that when I was moving John into the dorm. They have done 700,000 home repairs and completed 1.5 million moves and more. Gosh. Plus, with TaskRabbit's happiness pledge, if you're not satisfied, they will work to make it right. Tackle your to-do list today and get 15% off your first task at taskrabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using the promo code Pink Shade. That's promo code Pink Shade at TaskRabbit, TaskRabbit, taskrabbit.com for 15% off of your task. TaskRabbit, book trusted help for home tasks. Okay, Salt Lake, OC, Below Deck Med, we've talked about it. Now here's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
You and I were texting a bit about this last night. I asked you if you would watch the Netflix Menendez brothers, the Ryan Murphy.
The monsters.
Monsters, yes. So you know what I wrote to you last night? We're going to watch one episode. You know how many episodes we watched? 4.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And my sister just said to me, when are you going to be done with this podcasting so that we can watch the next 5? I go, I don't think I can watch all 5 tonight. I've got to do some more Love is Blind notes. But she's obsessed with it now. And what I told you, so you have very closely followed this case, as have I. This is in our wheelhouse of when we were, in that age. And any true crime person from way back knows everything about OJ, knows everything about the Menendez brothers. So, and I feel like I know everything about Scott Peterson too. So I did start watching it. And you said that people had told you it was disrespectful or campy. It is very Ryan Murphy. And then there's a lot of campiness to it. Like there's kind of this constant theme of Milli Vanilli. And what I said to my sister, because that was the music at the time. And I said to my sister, I go, the reason they're doing this is because they're doing the correlation between fake brothers, fake music. They weren't really brothers. They weren't really singing. And that's how the Menendez brothers were, right? Everything about their lives was fake. It wasn't that perfect. They had fake hair. I said, I think that's the correlation that Ryan Murphy is trying to draw here. It is campy, but So far, I think it's telling the story as we know it. It is making Lyle really out to be the monster. I think of the two, it is making him out horrible, and it is making Eric out to be really, really controlled by his brother. They show Eric doing the actual crimes that he did, shooting his mom and all that. They show that, but it's also there's got a lot of like homoeroticism to it.
This is
You
really
know,
upsetting me. This is why I'm not watching it. These are two men who were horribly abused by their
abused.
father, and
Yeah.
there is proof of this.
By the way, my
This
sister
is
didn't know any of that. She said, "Oh, I thought all of that was alleged." I said, "No, it's been proven. There was an entire documentary about Lou Pearlman. She knew about that." I said, "But the Menendez dad was a huge part of that Lou Pearlman."
It's not Lou Pearlman, it's Menudo. Menudo was run by a manager by the name of Edgardo Diaz. And
Oh, I
he,
have that totally wrong then. I'm so sorry to Lou
yeah,
Pearlman. Not really. He's gross too.
he had this template where he would swap out kids.
Menudo. Yeah, I know.
Yes,
Yeah.
once they kind of were too like, going through puberty.
Aged out.
He
Yeah.
really wanted young men, and it was because he was using it as an opportunity to sexually abuse all of the band members. And
Like Lou Pearlman. Like Lou Pearlman.
he
Yeah.
purposely we don't know too much, like, there's an element to Lou Pearlman that it almost seems like asexual because none of the band members have come forward and said Lou Pearlman has actually touched them. So, we don't know to the degree what happened with Lou Pearlman, but we do know with Edgardo Diaz that he was purposely, casting, if you will, boys to be in the band who came from vulnerable situations, like a parent that was deceased or really poor, so that he could isolate them from their parents, and then he could abuse them.
It's
So
like a
lots of
it's like a
members
it's
have
like a
come
it's like a
forward.
Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Yeah, they've come forward and said we were abused, and in the process of doing so, in that doc, I was like researching it. I'm like, there is some connection to the Menendez case, and so their father, Jose Menendez, was the RCA executive. RCA was the record label
Mhm,
that
mhm.
Menudo uh, was under.
Okay.
And so I interviewed one of the members of Menudo, Ash Ruiz, and I asked him about the connection to Jose Menendez. And I said, "What do you think about the rumors that that he
Yeah.
had abused his children?" And he said, "Well, it was discussed amongst us as band members that it was really well known that within the band members and their music community that the band members were sex trafficked by Edgardo the manager and
Mhm.
Jose Menendez." Who no, they were like Ray Rosello, who was interviewed, who was like a main member. He went to the Menendez house. He's like openly talking about now how he was abused by Jose Menendez. Yet the entire country did not believe these young men. And I just had Mark Garagos on my show. He was their attorney. He's their appellate attorney. And he makes a great point. He's like, in the year 2024, would we ever and especially in terms of like the Diddy and all these allegations that people are talking about Usher and Justin Bieber, we have such empathy for
Mhm.
Justin Bieber right now, but
Yeah.
we don't have empathy for these two men who were brutally assaulted or, excuse me, abused by their father.
Yeah.
Brutally. From the time they were
Brutally.
like little boys and young men. And the reason that they shot them was because they were gonna tell, and their father was he was becoming more and more violent.
Yeah, and it seems like so I think the way they're telling the story, what it is in a
So it'll
Ryan Murphy
eventually come
way.
out in the last couple episodes, and people will feel like idiots for
No,
doubting them.
I've only watched 4 episodes and they've already told all about the abuse, all of it. On the first 4
Oh,
episodes, they're
so upsetting.
detailing it.
Okay.
And they're detailing it, but what I'm saying that the homoeroticism is like because now Eric's in prison and he's not attracted to men, but that's kind of all he knows. And it's so upsetting. And it is upsetting because I 100% believe they were horribly abused. And then I do think Lyle abused Eric because, by the way, that's what happens. It's textbook. You're abused, then you abuse as well. It couldn't be
Mhm.
more textbook. Eric just didn't have a younger brother to abuse. And it's horrible. And I
They're
do,
saying that the older brother also sexually abused his brother.
yeah, Eric says, but I think Eric has always said Lyle sexually abused me. And then what happened was when Eric was ready to go to college and his dad said, I'm not going to let you go because he needed to have somebody home to abuse. And that's when Lyle was like, oh, he's not going to let you go to college
Well,
because he needs you
one
home.
brother
Yeah.
definitely got it worse than the other.
It's Eric. It's the younger one was getting it worse
It's just
because,
awful. It's just
and
so awful.
the whole thing, I think the way the story is being told is very, very accurate and
And the
is
mother
very,
enabling it. Do you know they had a rule in their house? If dad's down the hall with the door closed with one of the brothers, don't come down the hall. And that like the mom like was fine with that.
yeah, you do see, and it's Chloe Sevigny plays the mom. You do see her going down the hall like with a laundry basket, which probably she never did because they were so rich. They probably had a housekeeper, but she's like knocking on the door and she can hear something and she just puts the laundry basket and walks away. Like doesn't say what's going on in there because she also didn't want to give up that like fancy lifestyle she had, you know? So I do think and I've only watched up to episode 4. I do think the storytelling is accurate. I do think the campiness of it and the Milli Vanilli of it all and all that is very Ryan Murphy, and that's what you're going to get. But then what I didn't realize also next week, a documentary with the two of them where they are speaking their truth is also coming out on Netflix.
Yeah. Well,
And so it's interesting that
Kim
Netflix,
Kardashian just went to visit them, and
yeah,
I will be very interested to hear.
was it Kate? Was it that
I feel like they should be released because
I
they've
do too.
served 35 years, and I think they were sentenced wrong. I think they should have only served 25 years.
I do too, and I think that the way they handled it afterwards, that they got a lot of flack for that. And on the show, they're showing it like kind of crazy, like how they went out and spending all the money and all that, having the huge
By the way, they
cocaine
were
parties and all
rich.
that.
They already spent money like that.
Right?
They grew up in a house where they spent a ton of money like that. That was
Yeah.
their normal.
But it does make Lyle look like a complete douche canoe, which I think he was, and I think also that's the way he handled it.
Yeah.
That's the way he handled it, and I think that Eric was really seen as like weak. And then and then of course the whole, Judalon, the therapist girlfriend is the one who brought the whole thing down. And we're getting into that. And so I
Which is
think that
so crazy. She told on her boyfriend who like attorney or like therapist
he told her.
client privilege.
Yeah.
And he tells the girlfriend and then the girlfriend goes to the authorities.
Because she was
So
scorned.
interesting.
She was scorned because he
Horrible.
wouldn't leave his wife for her.
It's all the whole thing is terrible. The
It
whole
is
thing.
you couldn't write it. You couldn't
That's
write it.
why I feel like I don't know if I want to watch campiness with a subject that I find to be so upsetting.
If you
How is you can't put
I agree.
campy and incest together. It feels so
well, that part's not
wrong.
campy. It's the whole Milli Vanilli of it and the whole,
By the way, have you ever watched the Milli Vanilli documentary?
No, I meant to, but I just
That is a fascinating one to watch, and I got to tell you, I am heartbroken what happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're whoever's getting the music rights, or they're really killing it with this. Okay, I want to also talk about, because you mentioned the Justin Bieber and the Puff Daddy, and as everybody that listens to the show knows, I'm a Billie Eilish apologist, obsessed. Can't wait. I'm going to see her in November, and everything she does, she can do nothing wrong. I love everything about Billie Eilish. Love, 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 up and down, love. And so on the documentary about her, I'm sure you watched it. It was on Apple a couple of years ago. It was when
I did.
And it ended with her getting her first set of Grammys, of which now she's gotten many more, and 2 Oscars. But I'm sure that it is going to continue. I'm sure that this documentary is going to. I'm just waiting for the next one.
Well, the director was RJ Cutler, and I'm interviewing him next week. He made a doc about Martha Stewart and also one about Elton John, and he did make the Billy one. So I can ask him if it's going to continue.
Ask him if it's a continue. It's got to be a continuation. It has to be. It's so good.
Anyway, I love her. He made that show called American High. Did you ever watch that? That was a good doc to go back in time and watch. They followed these kids in high school.
I feel like I did watch that.
It was very cool.
So, okay, so back to that. So in the documentary, we see a young Billie Eilish, 8, 9, 10, and how much she just loved Justin Bieber. Like, I loved Sean
remember
Cassidy,
that, yeah.
She knew everything about him, and she was just like, one day I'm going to marry Justin Bieber, as everybody does, when they're 8, 9, they had, but she's so young that, of course, her parents have all this video footage of her doing all of that.
Mhm.
And then, for her to be able to grow up, to be able to sing with him, or him to want to see, he did a track for Bad Guy with her. And it's when her manager calls up and goes, he wants to know if you guys want to go in the studio and do it together, or should he just record it separately? She was like, he has to do it separately. I can't go into a studio with him. Are you?
Yeah.
What? And now they're actually like friendly and stuff. And then you see him later at Coachella, and he's like, anything you ever need, you call me and all that.
Oh man.
I
get chills because it's just, I feel like my heart is with that young man right now.
Well, Page Six on their Instagram posted a clip of an interview, and it had to have been in the last couple of years. It's pretty, it's Justin Bieber when he's got the neck tattoos and stuff. So it's not like from 10 years ago.
Mm.
And he starts crying in the interview, asked him about Billie Eilish and like, how'd you feel about like seeing this girl that loved you so much and now she's such a superstar and she's so talented, she couldn't even believe you would be on her, and asking those kind of questions. He starts crying and says, I will do anything for her, and I've told her anything she needs, I'm a phone call away, because this industry and what happens, some events, he says, encounters, he says events and encounters that happened, you need somebody, and I had nobody, and I was a young person who had nobody, and she's really young, and I told her anything I can do. So now looking back at it, we always thought the Usher thing was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think Usher is going to be the next one to go down, unfortunately. I am, fingers crossed, Jay-Z and Beyonce, no, but I think something's going to happen there. I'm really hoping it doesn't. But the people have been talking about Puff Daddy. You go back and look at all those Wendy Williams clips of her talking about him. And you're like,
God,
God,
I gotta tell you,
don't you wish she
she
didn't have dementia so she could tell us?
I'm thinking about her so much this week too, and what has happened to her. She's such a force, and they made that documentary about her. It was totally unfair and gross, and
you saw that her estate is now suing the documentary makers because they made like $30 million or something on it, and she was paid what they said, like $36,000 for the whole thing.
The whole thing is. I don't know if anybody watched it. I tried to watch it.
I tried, but
upset.
I couldn't watch it, Kate. I couldn't watch it.
Taking advantage of somebody when they're in their weakest moments. Gosh, I've been thinking about her a lot because all of those clips, and I've been thinking about Kim Porter too.
Yeah, somebody needs to let us know. Now, I will say that there's a person on TikTok, and again, if I just had all the hours of the day, I would sit and watch all this stuff, but I just don't right now. I am going to do a full-scale investigation at some point.
Is it Jaguar?
No, it's not Jaguar. There's a person that read Kim Porter. It was like, I've read Kim Porter's book.
Oh, you know who's reading it? Is Kiki.
Oh, Kiki Monique? Yeah. Somebody else.
Then I heard reports that it's totally made up, so I don't know what to believe.
Well, this person read it and was like, here's what I've got from chapters 1 through 4. All right. Next TikTok reel will be at 6 through 8, whatever. Regardless of all of that, somebody needs to dig her up and do an autopsy. And why didn't we? Right?
I feel so saddened.
I feel so sad for his kids.
All of that. Then I saw another video where they brought up Tevin Campbell. Do you remember Tevin Campbell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
And then I'm like, where did that person? I think about all of these supremely talented people that kind of were in that orbit, and then they just sort of disappeared. And what could have been made of their careers? What did they see? I mean,
and they disagreed with it,
and all these things. The Lou Pearlman doc, Menudo doc. Like, I don't know how anybody wants to have their kids in entertainment after this.
I agree. Oh my gosh, Kate, it's so upsetting. This episode is brought to you by iRestore, the clinically proven advanced hair growth system designed for women who want to say goodbye to thinning hair and hello to volume. Y'all, we talk so much about hair on this podcast, and the Facebook group is full of ladies chatting about their hair. And it seems a lot of us are riding that hair struggle bus. Like, do your shower walls have enough hair on them that you could build a wig that we would then talk about on Wig Court? Mine is. So if you're tired of dealing with thinning hair or hair loss, listen up. The iRestore Elite is the most powerful device on the market. packed with 500 lasers and LEDs to provide maximum scalp coverage to help you grow thicker, longer, healthier hair. The FDA-cleared iRestore Elite harnesses the power of low-level light therapy, LLLT, a clinically proven method to regrow thicker and fuller hair. It's the most non-invasive, pain-free, and drug-free way to bring your hair back to life. The combination of 500 lasers, that's a lot of lasers, 500 lasers and LEDs ensures that every inch of your scalp receives the light energy needed to stimulate cellular activity, boost blood flow, and reduce inflammation. Those are all crucial elements in reversing your hair loss. With the iRestore Elite, you can sit back, relax, and binge watch your favorite show. I suggest Love After Lockup. So then you're looking at those wigs and you're like, yes, I'm doing the right thing for my hair. The iRestore Elite will work its science-based magic on your scalp. You're going to grow thicker, healthier hair naturally with visible results in just 3 months. No drugs and no surgeries, just the most advanced technology with real results. For a limited time only, our listeners will get $625 off when they use code PinkShade. You guys, $625 off your order when you use code PinkShade at iRestoreLaser.com. That's iRestoreLaser.com. Promo code is PinkShade. I'm going to spell it IRESTORELASER.com. Promo code PinkShade. So in a 4-month double-blind clinical study performed by a board-certified dermatologist, 100% of study participants grew more hair with iRestore's laser and LED technology. You can feel confident you're buying a system with proven results. All right. Are you ready to get medical grade red light treatment at home to regrow your hair? For a limited time only, again, you're going to get $625 off your order when you use code PinkShade at iRestoreLaser.com. That's iRestoreLaser.com. Use promo code PinkShade. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone. Thanks to iRestore. Let's talk about something happier.
You know what is good, happy? You know what is good, though?
What?
I hope, well, not good, but I hope that Justin Bieber in this period of time is getting a sense of how many people love him and have good wishes for him, you know? Like maybe this is going to be, although like the Band-Aid's being ripped off a bit, I hope he is overwhelmed with love from people. It just feels like we all collectively just want this man to have a really happy life with his wife and his new baby, and just he deserves so much happiness.
It's interesting. Heather McDonald tells a story where, when she was on Chelsea lately, that he was there and he was very, very sick with the flu or something. And literally they were like, go in there, give him a shot, like, put like a performing monkey, like put him on the stage. It doesn't matter that he's sick. And she said she always remembered that at the time, from all that time ago as a mom, she was thinking like, oh my God, they're just going to go in there and give him like a steroid shot or a antibiotic shot and then make him perform. And he's out here, and then like Chelsea's making like sort of like lewd comments towards him, and he's like 13.
It's funny. It's now that you say that, like she gets really upset, and I can completely understand. She gets so upset with like Instagram moms who have like pushed their kids into the entertainment business, and it probably was rooted in watching that so long ago,
Yeah, like he doesn't have a choice in this. He's like a you think about your son, I think about my son, like a little 12, 13-year-old boy. They're still a little boy and they're sick. And like you just right before we started, you said your son didn't feel well and you wrote him a note. Don't go to football practice. You don't feel good.
Yeah, don't do it.
But because you don't feel good, you should stay home. And in this situation, they're like, no, you're supporting 26 people on the payroll. You better get out there and perform and better let this 40-something-year-old lady talk about how hot you are. You're 12. That's fucked up.
I thought about that too when Britney Spears put out her book.
Yeah.
And then the discussion about like
her body.
Not wanting a pregnancy. And I just felt such empathy for both Justin and for Britney because I thought about the team of adults that were around them, probably with the messaging. Like, you guys can't have a child. Like, you're paying all of our bills.
Yeah.
You don't perform, or the reaction to people that you got her pregnant or whatever it may be, like that affects our bottom line.
Yeah.
No young person should have that stress on them.
And it's back to Billie Eilish, which I could bring everything back to Billie Eilish, but in her documentary, and she's talking about how she's not into drinking. She has a lot of songs about it. Like, she's got Zanny. She's got the whole song about like all my friends are you just take a Xanny, you'll feel better. And, and all my friends are drunk
Mm,
and I'm the one sipping on Diet Coke in the corner or whatever. She's talked about it a lot, how she's never really drank. Her brother's never really drank, never done drugs or anything like that. And, she's talking about that. And the publicist says, yeah, but you probably shouldn't say that because what if down the road, like you do change or whatever. And the publicist is telling her that. And her mom, Maggie, hero, jumps in and goes, she can say that if she wants to. She can say she doesn't drink and she doesn't do drugs and she's never going to. She can say that. She's 17, 18 years old. It's fine if she says that because the publicist is trying to say, don't say that because what if down the road, like you're pictured with a martini at a
mm,
bar when you're 25 or whatever.
yeah.
And I just remember her mom in the documentary said, yeah, people make
Mhm.
fun of kids these days and say they have no reason to be depressed. Look at this great life. Yeah, they got a lot to be depressed about.
There's
Look
a
at the
lot.
environment. Look at the
Yeah,
politics.
pressures.
Look at the world. Look at the wars. Yeah, they're
Mhm,
concerned that their predecessors have ruined the earth for them. It's
mhm.
fine if they're depressed. Like, let these kids be depressed and write music about being depressed if they want to. I don't know. I just think like you look at that, and I wish that Justin Bieber had that support system in
Well,
his
I know,
family.
then you think about what Billie had with her parents and her brother,
Yeah,
and, like, he didn't have one person.
he didn't have anybody. Everybody looked at him as like, oh, he's a child prodigy. He's a meal ticket. But by the way, I think Usher's family did the same to him.
Mhm.
Because he was real young when he started performing and so talented. So you
But when
hope
he
somebody
but
was
he would
protecting
remember
him.
he was with Diddy for a little while, though, and his mom showed up, and she was like, "Absolutely not," and yanked
Mhm.
him out of there.
And I will tell you too that a listener, speaking of the Diddy thing, our listener reached out to me literally on her Finsta. So I don't know if this is a person that I actually know or not. This
Yeah.
person said, I've made a Finsta so I could contact you.
Oh, wow.
And said, but she has worked for a business owned by, and it's not specific, no specifics, a business owned by Jay-Z, and said that she was giving me some scoop. And she said, I would say the Jaguar on TikTok, Jaguar Wright, who I've been
Yeah,
following for a long time.
yeah.
And I've talked about that, like some of the stuff she said about like Jay-Z and this other baby and blah, 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 blah. And
Mhm.
said, really the person that has the most on the nose information is that Toure, Toure. He's a writer for
Oh,
Rolling
he's
Stone.
great.
He's
Yeah.
great. And he's been talking a lot about the Diddy stuff. She says generally he's pretty complimentary towards Jay-Z, doesn't have too many bad stories. And she said that was my experience working there. This is not to say something won't come out because I'm just an employee. They're not coming around showing their dirty laundry. Her
Mhm.
experience was great. She did say people that had experiences working at Ivy Lane, Beyonce's company,
Mhm.
didn't have such a great experience like she had at Jay-Z's business. But she said in her mind,
Mm.
she's been watching the Jaguar Wright and she's been watching Touré, and she finds Touré's description of things to be more in line what she witnessed working for one of Jay-Z's business. Of course, she didn't have any interaction with Sean Combs. So, but it was really interesting that this person reached out and was like, I've
Mhm.
signed lots of NDAs and stuff. I can't tell you who I am. I created this Finsta so I can DM you, and here's what I know. I was like, is this like one of
Wow.
my regular listeners that I really know that can't
Yeah.
say, this is fascinating, but I'm like, tell me what you can and keep it under Finsta. I don't
Are
want
they
anybody getting in
upset?
trouble.
Are they upset and scared of what that may be revealed?
They say from their experience they hadn't seen anything that would lead them to
So
believe
they're like,
Jay-Z
yeah,
would be
just
involved in
nothing.
any of this. But
Yeah.
then again, if you're just a cog and a wheel at a machine, if you're not super high up, what do you know?
Mhm.
People, unless people aren't talking about it at the toaster oven in the morning, getting your avocado toast.
Well, people don't talk enough about that too. Like when you find out someone you know has done something
Yeah.
and
It's
how
like how
awful
would
that must be. Yeah.
the effect does everybody. Well, these are my list of things I
Yeah.
had to talk to you about. Below Deck Med. Kate doesn't like it. I'm going to talk about it anyway. OC, Salt Lake City, Menendez Brothers. I say
I
if you're
like
not,
Below Deck. I just got burned out. I got burned out of 90 Day Fiancé. I go through phases where I'm just like, I just
Deck, I haven't watched it in years, and the only
Mhm.
reason I started watching this season is because a guy that was on MILF Manor was the first charter guest of this season. And so
Uh,
I was talking to Deanna, and I was like, "Let's just do a crossover," 'cause she talks
yeah.
about everything. And so we just did a MILF Manor, and literally it was the most boring dude ever on MILF Manor who got kicked out, and then he was the most boring below deck guest ever. How this guy
Wow.
thinks he's an influencer, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I couldn't tell you. I was like, "Dude, you're not killing the game." But he has,
No.
like, hundreds of thousands of followers. As it's getting darker here, I'm just, like, leaning closer and closer to the computer because there's no
By
light.
the way, my daughter just said, "If on on your tombstone, mom, it's gonna say killing the game," because she says I say it too much.
Oh, 'cause you
Yeah.
say that all the time. And
Yeah.
another thing you say all the time, whenever you've talked about, like, merch and how, do people
Yeah.
really buy merch and who cares? You should put your catchphrases on it. One of your catchphrases is "blowing my hair back." That didn't blow my hair back.
That didn't blow my hair back. My sister and I always say exactly. Like anything that we're laughing about, and then we'll go, "Exactly."
Or I'm like, "Totally,
Instead of totally, we
literally."
say exactly, but
Exactly.
we say it like that.
But that's like on, Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark on My Favorite Murder, who I'm obsessed with, for years, just like Billie Eilish. That she always says, "That's exactly right." So they named their network the Exactly Right Network
Oh, that's funny.
to
Yeah,
show
that
'cause that's
actually
exactly
could
right.
be like a Northeast thing because I've heard, I think I heard Howard Stern the other day, or, maybe he just happened to say it that day, but he said, "Exactly." I went, "Oh, maybe that's, like, something we all say."
Mhm, but hers is exactly right, and I never noticed that she said it so much until she said, "That's why we named the network that," because I say it all the time. Now I hear her say it all the
All the
time.
time.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What else are we watching? You guys, Kate has a great, Substack you should subscribe to, and it's what to
Yeah.
watch this week, and it's always spot on. If there's, like, 6 things in the list, you're like, "Okay, I would be
Mhm.
interested in that," but there's 4 things you are gonna be interested in. So what are you
Yeah.
watching?
And by the way, people can get that at, kkc.substack.com.
Yes, do
Okay,
it.
the first thing people need to watch, and it's gonna be painful, but you gotta do it. It's called, We Will Dance Again.
Okay.
And it is about the Nova Festival in Israel on October 7th, and it gives you the whole 6 hours and what happened, and it is overwhelming, and it is important to watch, and I have a survivor on my show today. His name's Aitan Hali, and I cried in the interview. I was really moved by his story, but it's a terrorist event. I liken it to watching like a 9/11 documentary or One
Yeah.
Day in September about the Munich Olympics or there's Paris Attacks on Netflix, which is about the November 2016 terrorist attacks at the Bataclan Theater and the community. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they're really hard to watch, but the survivor stories are so important. And
Yeah.
it's so important for those survivors to tell someone about what happened to them. They are the witnesses with the capital W. And we honor them, I think, when we listen. And then
Listen. Mhm.
because the more we talk about it, the less I would hope it happens again. So watch that. Will and Harper is on Netflix. That's Will Ferrell and his
Yes,
friend.
I'm dying to watch this,
Yeah,
Kate.
that one. The
Tell people what this is about because it's really interesting.
So Will and his friend worked on Saturday Night Live together for many, many years, and his friend has now become Harper. He transitioned from a man to a woman, and
Mhm.
they go on this like road trip over like 2 weeks or something. And they just kind of film it throughout the process, and they're stopping at bars throughout the country, and he's basically getting to know his friend all over again, but in a different way, and
Yeah.
in a deeper way too. And it's getting great reviews. I like the voice. I think that's like a fun kind of like numb out from the week kind of thing. And they've got new
Yeah.
judges and Snoop Dogg and Michael Bublé
And
and
Reba McEntire
Reba McEntire and
and
Gwen
then
Stefani.
Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a fun thing to watch. I think The Golden Bachelorette is actually really good.
See, I haven't had a chance. I'm dying to
I
watch it too.
really like it's way better than The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I mean, there's so many like sweetheart guys on the show. There's one guy in particular named Pascal that I think is a complete grifter, and I hate a grifter, but
Oh,
she's just really cool.
okay.
She's got a great story. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's sensitive too, and I don't know. I think everybody will love that. So The Golden Bachelorette on ABC.
Okay.
And also, I think that Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Orange County are very interesting. Like interesting topics. Like the beauty image thing right now in OC, I think is really, really interesting. And the Salt Lake one, you've got a new housewife, you've got these two friends of, and you know what? Salt Lake is campy.
It is. I was just listening to Danny's
Mhm.
review of it in the car, and that is what he said. He said it's a good thing that Monica didn't come back because it would have been all about that. It
Yeah,
would have
that's
started out
true.
so dark.
That's true,
But
Danny. Yep.
instead, it started out so campy with these outfits and the fashion and the I didn't
Yeah.
say that. I didn't say I put rolls in my pocket. And then the person dating the Donnie and Marie. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
couldn't be. It's just great. And we're not even so focused on Lisa Barlow, although I love her. But it's
Yeah.
funny in that first episode, they all gang up on Whitney and the way they shoot it with them all yelling at Whitney at the
Yeah.
end of that episode. I was like, I love this show. I'm so glad it's back.
How about Danny writing a Christmas movie that he's gonna star in? Like, how fun is that?
I was hearing him talk about that, and
Yeah.
because, every year around Christmas, Katie and Kimberly and I do, like, a Hallmark movie, and we do, like, a live, and we talk about it. I was like, "We should do
You
Danny's movie and then
should.
see if he'll come on and do, like, a guest spot to talk about it."
I bet he would. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. He said he was, gonna start going to all the soda bars. He wanted to see what he would need, like,
Oh,
two
like, he's perfect for that.
yeah, 2
I
2
always
clumps of
think
coconut in his Diet Coke.
I feel like he should be the new Mister Rogers. Like, they
Yeah,
should bring
he
that show
does
back,
he
and he
does
should
enjoy
be
a
Mister
sweater.
Rogers.
Yeah, he enjoys a
Well,
sweater.
no, he's just like sunshine, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, I agree.
he's like one of those people when you talk to him, you're like, "You know what? I'm gonna go out and, like, start my day."
Yeah. He's got good energy. Danny,
Yeah.
can you hear us? Um, that's it. We're done. And Kate, I want to tell you that you jumped in last minute for me as I do for you all the time. And that's what makes us friends.
That's
I
what
get you and
friends
you can
are for, Dionne
we,
Warwick.
we get each other.
By
We
the
get
way,
each other.
I went down the rabbit hole with the P. Diddy stuff, and
Yeah.
now what they're saying about Clive Davis and Whitney Houston, I'm like,
No,
I don't know how much of this is true.
I just saw Clive Davis at the Polo Bar when I was in New York last week.
You
He walked
did?
by and Jake Anthony almost spat out his martini and fell off his chair. He goes,
I
"Clive Davis,
bet.
Clive Davis, Clive Davis." Because when you're in the Polo Bar, you can't point or take a picture or anything.
No.
You have to just
Yeah.
whisper to your mate. He was going, "Clive Davis, Clive Davis." And here he comes. He had a handler, a person walking him.
Did
I
he
was like, "Well,
look
shh."
really ill and old and decrepit?
You don't see a lot of old people that are overweight. You really don't.
Wait, he's overweight?
He was very rotund. Mhm.
Is he?
Mhm. Kind of in a help me, the person that wrote The Birds.
No, Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, kind of in an Alfred Hitchcock way. Like the side view was wide in the stomach like that. Yeah, and short.
Mm.
Short. I'm saying 5'4", 5'3". So maybe that's why he looked rotund. But anyway, he just had those dark glasses on and was just shuffling out and it with a handler. So
I gotta tell you, I'm not really liking him right now.
well, I don't know, but now I
I
know.
don't know.
You know who else I've seen in person at the Polo Bar? Woody
Yeah.
Allen. So,
But another one I'm not
yeah,
happy
another one.
about.
Yeah,
I'm not
another one.
happy. You know what? I did make a reference. I was talking to my friend Maura this morning about the Diddy stuff and Usher.
Yeah, I'm worried about
And
what's coming out. I'm worried.
she said something like, "Well, sometimes if they're like, we're obviously we don't know the details, so don't come
No,
at me.
it's all alleged. We don't know anything.
We don't know anything, but there are people having these conversation about if something did happen to Usher, then how could he introduce Justin to Diddy if these things are true?"
It's
And it
exactly what
made
we
me,
just talked about with the Menendez brothers. The abuser
yeah, I
abuses
know.
and then becomes an abuser. That's just the cycle of it.
But
That's the cycle.
but the breaking of the cycle, it does happen sometimes. And I
It
said, "Hey,
does.
I said, Maura, remember Steven Stainer?" And she's like, "Remind me why I know that name." I go, "I know my first name is Steven. Do you remember that made for TV movie we watched?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so Steven Stainer is taken from his home in the 1970s in Central California, and he was kidnapped by a man named Kenneth Parnell. And he
Mhm.
kept him kidnapped. He was abusing him, and he passed him off of his son, like enrolled him into school. But then he ended
Yes.
up stealing another son, or like we want to be like pretend son, so he could
Yeah.
abuse him. Like, you're going to be brothers. And Steven, the reason he got back to his family was they escaped in the middle of the night. He took the boy that was taken, and they walked for miles to a police station. And the first thing he said when it's a police station was, "I know my first name is Steven." And then he was like reunited. He ended up being killed in a motorcycle accident. He was riding a motorcycle. He was leaving work. How do I know this? Because I'm obsessed with the story. I ended up interviewing his daughter, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
who I don't think she ever actually like got to know him because her mom was either pregnant or she was like a small baby when he died.
Mm-hmm.
But that was an example of someone who like broke the cycle. That
Yeah.
feeling of like, I'm not going to let this happen to anybody else.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I just thought about that. I'm like, all of these abuse stories are just so upsetting.
Yeah, they are. They are. And if you're seeing this in video, you see my sister run behind the picture a couple of times. We can see
Yeah.
you. Look at her. All right, we will end it on that note. Kate, thank you so much. Tell everybody where to find. They already know, but tell everybody where to find you.
Well, so Reality Life with Kate Casey, wherever you listen to podcasts. My what to watch list is at katecasey.substack.com. Please sign up for it. You're going to love that because it'll get in your inbox every Monday.
It's great.
Make your life really easy. And you can also get bonus episodes on my Patreon. And I got behind the scenes stories of like the craziness about me booking this daily show. Patreon, patreon.com/Kate Casey. And then follow me on social media, Instagram at Kate Casey CA, TikTok, it's Kate Casey, and Twitter and Threads.
And you do a little
Kate
reel
Casey.
every week where you talk about your what to watch list. And
yeah,
so that's also helpful.
I'm going to post a reel tonight, a part of my interview with that survivor, and I hope people are kind to me because I don't really want to hear.
It's real journalism. It's real.
I don't want to hear negativity of someone's story of how they survived a terrorist attack. I don't, No.
If anybody sees it, don't say anything mean to Kate. I'll come for you. Come for you. Everybody, make sure you're following me on Instagram as well at Pink Shade Pod. And I'll see you this weekend with Amy. We'll be talking about 90 Day the Other Way and Welcome to Plathville. And I've got a great interview coming up with Olivia next week, covering the season finale of Plathville, of which I got to watch early and then discuss with her. And boy, oh boy, does she drop some hot and juicy tea and says she don't give a fuck.
Really?
Oh yeah. She doesn't care. She don't care. In the words of my daughter, I don't care. All right, Kate, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Ads not read by me, Mary Payne, don't necessarily reflect the views of Pink Shade. If you'd like to listen to ad-free, you're going to go on over to Supercast or Patreon, and you can find the links to Pink Shade Prime at pinkshadepodcast.com.